Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 6 of the Creative Pause. My name is Susan Padron, and I'm here with my co-host, who I will allow to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stacey Faye of Stacey Faye Designs Jewelry. We're so excited to have you here. This is our 1-week anniversary of this show. So it's very exciting for us and hopefully for all of you. And it's Friday, so hopefully all of you are feeling the good energy that comes with a Friday space oftentimes, even though we're at home. So Susan and I are here with you for the next half hour or so to offer a time of respite. And as we like to say, in this time of solitude and fear, we're offering joy, love, and connection to all of you. So we're very happy today to do that once again.
Yes, and we are here today with Allison. And before we dive into her portion of our episode today, we always love to include in each episode an opportunity for us, as well as those of you that are watching, to respond to how you are doing today. We want to know. These times are really challenging. We're in a bit of a roller coaster of emotions from day to day and hour to hour, minute to minute. And we want to give all of you the opportunity to kind of reflect on that. So we have the chat feature in Zoom for those of you that are watching live that we strongly encourage that you contribute and participate in. So for those of you that are watching, type in a word or a few words in response to how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Stacey and I are going to share in response to that question, and Allison will as well. But we want to know. We want to do a little check-in. So I'll go first. So how am I doing today? I'm feeling good. I'm so excited that Allison is here with us. So that has my energy levels, feeling high and positive. I think overall I've been doing okay and staying focused on other activities, like this amazing show. I can't believe that we're celebrating our 1-week anniversary already. I'm feeling really grateful for the relationships that I have in my life. I think this week too, I made a really conscious effort to be aware of all the negativity that's in my peripherals, but allowing it to stay in my peripherals rather than penetrating my being. Or if it does penetrate my being, then process it and then release it. I know Stacey and I had to do some of that earlier today. We've been kind of helping each other with that. So Stacey, how are you doing?
Yeah, sort of tying in with what Susan said about helping each other process earlier. I feel like today I'm definitely in a little bit more of, I guess, a philosophical space about all of this and where we're at, and realized for me, I have probably some underlying, which I think all of us do right now, underlying, maybe I'd call it anger about some of the stuff that's floating out there, and trying to process my own reactions to it. I was surprised actually with some of my earlier reactions to something, and allowing myself to feel that, and let's name it as anger, allowing myself to feel that, and then really think about, okay, what does that mean for me, and try to convert that into something more positive. And for me, this week has any of the negative feelings that have come up, doing this show has been a major way that I've been able to translate that into something good. And I've also really listened on each show. So I've tried to, when we had the photographer, I've tried to take more detailed pictures since then. This morning I used, I don't know what it looks like, but used some of Heather's makeup tricks because I was like, you know what, I learned some new things and I'm going to actually do that. And so I've been trying to put in place the things that I'm learning and I'm taking in on these shows. And so that feels good and it feels right. So yeah, that's where I'm at. How about you, Allison?
Well, I also tried to use some makeup tips from yesterday. I don't think you can tell at all. I am feeling strangely connected and disconnected at the same time. So I feel very connected and grounded to what I think of as source energy, or, my spiritual self. And watching you guys do these shows this week has really, it's raised my vibration every day as I've tuned in. And, it was it was dogs, and then it was makeup, and it was photography and flowers. It's just, I really feel grateful for that. I can say I feel disconnected kind of from the outside world. I have not really been consuming the news, which feels a little irresponsible to say, but at the same time, I don't know if me watching the news actually helps me or helps anybody else. I'll tune in, I do have a husband who watches the news, so I know what I need to know. And I feel really grateful that he is willing to be that filter for me. Um, and I feel disconnected a little bit from my children. I've been working a lot this week, and so I'm looking forward to being home this weekend and reconnecting with them.
Yeah, I've been separating myself from the news as well. And my husband also watches the news, or at least like keeps tabs on it. And so I can definitely relate to having that disconnect from the outside world, and, just checking in from time to time, or allowing my husband to share what's going on, and then like disconnecting again. Because, yeah, I don't really know that staying on top of the news and everything that's happening like minute to minute is really beneficial. It's just, at least from a current observation from my personal perspective. But if it's helping anybody, by all means, like, continue to do it. It just wasn't helping me when I was staying more informed, putting that in air quotes.
Because what is the true information anyway right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for sharing how you're doing. And Diane said that she's feeling pretty composed, which is wonderful. I think any moment when we are feeling positive during these times should definitely be acknowledged and celebrated. And for those of you that are watching this on through the recording on YouTube, we always strongly encourage you, when we go through this portion of the show, that even though you can't communicate how you're feeling today, directly with anybody, or with us at least, to take the time to journal about it. Or I know Stacey has suggested through a couple episodes to like scream it out loud, which I love. Like every time she says that, I'm like, yes, I love that. Do what you got to do to just connect with yourself and actually acknowledge how you're feeling, you as an individual, and then just kind of go from there. Allow yourself to reflect each day, and again, celebrate the wins, acknowledge the feelings that are, that you're struggling with at this time, and tomorrow's a new day. So, another thing that we love to do at the beginning of our show is share a quote that our current guest has shared with us. And this is a Maya Angelou quote that Allison shared. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. And then Stacey is going to read it for us. All right.
So the great Maya Angelou said, "Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope." It's really beautiful, and I think very apropos for right now and what we need to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for reading that, Stacey, and thank you for sharing it with us, Allison. So now we get to introduce our wonderful guest today, and then she gets to take over for us. And Stacey and I get the pleasure of just being willing participants and enjoying what you have to share. So Allison is in private practice in Philadelphia and Media, Pennsylvania. And she really loves working with people who are empaths, who are going through a spiritual awakening, or who are honing their intuition. Her new space that she opened in Media is Love and Light on Orange, also known as LALO rhymes with halo. And this is a beautiful, beautiful space where I have been honored enough to have hosted an event there prior to everyone being in quarantine and on lockdown. And what Allison is going to be doing tomorrow, she was going to have an open house with people obviously attending, to celebrate the opening of her space. But because of the times that we're currently in, her open house is going to be done virtually. So she's going to be sharing some videos and some celebrating the open house. But it really is a beautiful space for spiritual seekers and for healing. And so once we're allowed to venture out and venture into spaces, I highly recommend that you attend an event or schedule a session and go. But Miss Allison, I hand it over to you, my dear. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, both of you, Stacey and Susan. I first wanted to just thank the two of you for setting up the Creative Pause project, because what I've noticed is that people are discovering the places that they're vulnerable, but they're also discovering the places that they're strong. And when I think of the two of you and your careers and your career changes, you're both really creative people. And so by you using this platform to share your creativity and raise people's vibrations, in bite-sized amounts every Friday afternoon, I just think is really a gift. So I appreciate that both of you are doing that. It kind of gives me hope and strength to see people making use of this time in that way. So one of the things that I wanted to emphasize, and my clients are probably tired of hearing me say this, but this is really a time, actually they're not tired of it. This is a time for deep self-compassion. This is a time to be very loving with ourselves. And I've noticed that it's a time that may feel reminiscent for some of us. If you've been through something very, very difficult, loss of a loved one, loss of a pregnancy, or maybe having a new baby, which Stacey is going to have a new baby soon. It's any kind of loss or any kind of dig deep in your life situation, this is going to feel reminiscent. And so I have noticed as the weeks have gone on that I dig deep, and then I dig deeper to cope. And then when I think I've got nothing left to give, I dig deeper again, because that's what's required. And so I really have been emphasizing that with my clients, that this is a time to be really compassionate with yourself, because you're not going to be able to be on top of everything in all areas of your life. And like in those really tough time periods, you notice that what your tendencies are. You notice that, do you tend to be anxious? Do you tend to worry? Do you tend to be angry? Do you tend to, I know for me, I go straight to guilt and regret. And so it's a little bit like, hello, old friend. Like, I haven't seen you in a while. And again, it's just part of all the darkness coming up so that we can transmute it into light. It's just part of the process. So I wanted to teach you a tapping technique. I have a couple things. I'll do the tapping, and then I want to show you an idea that came from a client that my children helped me kind of bring into fruition. So I need to think of what to do first. Let's just do this very beautiful tapping technique that's called self-havening. And this was actually introduced to me by a client of mine who's going through a coaching program. I have some very wise clients who I love. So the idea behind tapping, and some of you have seen it, with things like this, right? Or things like this, where you're tapping on meridian points in your body. And as you tap on those points, you say a simple phrase like, although I am angry, I completely love and accept myself. Although I am angry, I completely love and accept myself. What's happening when you do that and you're tapping on meridian points is that you're calming your nervous system. You're telling your nervous system you are safe. You are safe. At the same time that you are telling your nervous system, I know you feel angry. I heard you. You feel angry. And you talk yourself through it, giving yourself compassion through the whole process. So normally when we think of tapping, we think of, those meridian points. But the technique that I want to teach you, because I was practicing it this afternoon and I almost put myself to sleep. It was so soothing. I want you to have this technique. And we will put a link in the YouTube recording. We'll put some links so you can actually listen to a guided meditation and have somebody talk you through this whole thing. So there's 4 different parts of this self-havening technique. And the first one's really like a big hug. So you cross your arms and you start at your shoulders and you just stroke down to your elbow. You're just stroking your upper arms. And you breathe. Doesn't that feel wonderful? And while you do this, you can experience yourself as receiving this touch from another person. You can imagine that you're receiving this touch from a loved one, from someone who cares for you very much. Or if you're so inclined, you can imagine that you're receiving this touch from a spirit guide or from an angel. If it's hard to find a person that you would want to receive this kind of touch from. The next one is stroking your forehead down to the sides of your face. And I'm going to do this because it's amazing. You don't have to do this. I'm going to wipe off all the makeup that I tried to put on today, thanks to yesterday's guest. So you start at your forehead and you stroke down the side of your face with your fingertips. Oh my goodness. Breathe in and out. If you want, you can use your palms. You can experiment with going up to your hairline, just down the side of your face. Do you feel like you love yourself? I can see Susan's face. You feel like you love yourself right now. Good job. Don't put your glasses back on. There's one more, Susan. Now we're going to stroke. You're going to go under your eyes and the bridge of your nose down to your chin. I literally just learned these this morning. Bridge of your nose, under your eyes, down to your chin, and breathe. You can just feel the tension draining out of your crown and out of your face and out of your jaw, right? Okay, and then the last one, rubbing your palms. You can do it back and forth. You can do it in circles. Yeah, I'm watching some of you. This is not like Reiki palms where you're trying to get friction and heat going. This is gentle soothing. Any of this, whatever feels the most soothing and calming is what you do. So let's take a collective breath. You feel that energy just drain out of your arms. Just feels amazing. So that's some self-care. I have not taught that to clients. I've taught some of these tapping things to clients, and we work together in the session to figure out what is the feeling that you're trying to hone in on. What is the main feeling? Right now, people are feeling anxious, worried, angry, out of control. And you just find the feeling that gets to the heart of it. You gauge that feeling as on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense is it? That gives you a baseline so you know how effective the tapping is. And then after you do the tapping sequence, you ask yourself again, do I feel better? Usually it comes from maybe an 8 down to a 4. If you want to get it lower, you can do the tapping sequence again. I'll also have Susan and Stacey provide a link for some really good tapping resources. There's a website called The Tapping Solution. They actually have an app that you can use, and they have really shown up. I would say mid-March, they've just been going live a lot on Facebook with here's something for money, here's something for fear, here's something for health, here's something for immune system. So Stacey, I would love what you said. Can you chime in out loud?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me find what I actually said. I'm so relaxed. I don't want a baby brain. I don't remember. Yeah, I was saying on the chat, if those of you are looking in on there, that this is a great reminder of how much we hold in our bodies and we can work on releasing. I often forget that, as much therapy as I've had and yoga and everything else. And I think right now, so many of us are just, like Susan was saying the other day, she had so much tension that there would be no other reason for it other than stress and other than like shouldering the burden of what we're going through. And I'm grateful to have these few exercises because I forget that. And I often think, oh, I have to take a yoga class or I have to, but no,
Yes.
sometimes very simple things can ground you physically in a way that's helpful.
Yeah, I I agree completely. And I was also thinking, Allison, when you started with just the like basic the arm stroking exercise and even like the face stroking too, how amazing these exercises are for people who are quarantined by themselves right now because of just lacking that connection or that touch from another person can be um, so harmful or just so hurtful and without even necessarily being like on their radar. So having something like these techniques, I feel like can really just help people tremendously.
Yes. Diane just said that she's going to share this with her mom who's living alone right now. And I happen to know that Diane's mom has lots of daughters and lots of grandchildren, but it wouldn't be healthy or safe for her to be with them right now. So yeah, she could probably use some self hugs. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think
Did
about
you
Also
guys?
picture self hugs happening on Zoom. Like I'm on this end, or Diane, you're there, your mom's on one end, you're on the other, if she knows how to use Zoom and has access to a computer, and you could do this sort of self hug together in a way.
That's a great idea. Since you guys liked those, I'm going to show you one more thing before I talk about the how to share the love within your family and friends. Um, there is a technique that I often teach my clients. It's called the over energy correction. And this is when your brain is buzzing, your body is tense. You basically have too much energy, but it's not synchronized, it's not running well within your body. And this technique helps kind of align your head and your heart and your body. And often my clients will use it if they wake up in the middle of the night and have a hard time going back to sleep. So we'll link this also. The instructions are a little bit detailed. So we'll link something to this so you can follow it later. But what I want you to do is put both hands on your heart. Doesn't matter which one's on top. And now if you can, where you're sitting, I want you to cross your ankles in the same order. So if your right hand is on top, then your right ankle is going to be on top of your left ankle. And then we're going to breathe with some different motions with our tongue. So as you breathe in through your nose, you're going to place your tongue on the top of your mouth, right behind your teeth, right behind your top teeth. Breathe in. As you breathe out, let your tongue relax. It goes now to the bottom of your mouth behind your bottom teeth. Breathing through your nose and your tongue moves up and down. So breathe in and out. And in with your tongue to the behind your front teeth. And out, tongue drops to the bottom. And you just breathe like you normally would. Natural breaths. You can feel your mind kind of quiet slowly. Everything just slows down. How does that feel, everybody? Stacey gives a thumbs up.
Oh my gosh, so like so soothing and oh my gosh, so calming and just wonderful.
Stacey, I can almost imagine you using this in between contractions, right?
I can try,
You
certainly.
can try in that rest
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and I could feel her because it's a baby girl I'm having. I could feel her moving around a lot as I was like doing that.
That's so
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
That's great. Well, let me show you this last thing. Um, I have another one of my wise clients who has a 5-month-old. We've been talking about how she and her husband are supporting each other as they both work from home, and just what the foundation of their relationship has been. And she said before they had their child, they talked with each other every day and asked, "How can I support you today? How are you feeling? What do you need?" And now that they're really busy, it's, they give each other 20 minutes. What do you need? What will make you feel better? And so sometimes it's taking a shower, sometimes it's taking a yoga class. And I really liked that question. And as the first full week of quarantine happened, um, and my house was a special kind of trashed, I called a family meeting on that first Sunday. And among the, we need to do chores, school, homeschooling is starting, among those things, I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. I thought about how can we be more kind to each other? And how can we be more kind to ourselves? And so I incorporated this client's ideas into something that I called the giving circle. And then my 13-year-old drew this lovely diagram, which I'll show you in a moment. But what we do is each day of the week, one person gives to another person, and that person gives to the next and the next. And there are two parts to the giving circle. One is you actually have to think about what you need. You actually have to think about what you want to ask for. And as parents, my husband and I both were kind of stumped, like, what do I need? I'm fine. Whatever, I'm fine. So we really had to think about it. The kids, of course, were like this, 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 this. They had all kinds of ideas. And in order to come up with ideas, we all logged into, my husband and I had done this before, but we logged into the 5 love languages, if you know that website. And we can link that also. It's 5, the number 5, lovelanguages.com. And I was thrilled to find out that they had age-appropriate questionnaires. So for my 9-year-old, there was a set of questions, 20 questions that were worded, for 8 to 11-year-old. And it was asking, would you rather have someone give you a gift or give you a hug? Would you rather have somebody take you to go for ice cream or invite your friends over for a party? And the 5, you probably already know this, the 5 different love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, physical touch, and quality time. And so that just helped kind of guide our requests to each other for what we wanted. So what gets complicated is how to manage. If there's 2 people in your household, then you can just give and receive to each other. So each day, each person is giving to somebody and receiving from somebody else. And if you want to do this with friends, you can. If you want to do this, across the distance, you can. But what we came up with, because there's 4 people in our house, is on day 1, we go one way around the circle. And on day 2, we go the other way around the circle. This makes sense, right? I don't need to explain more. And then I thought, oh my God, but some people are never going to give to each other. So on day 3, we go across. And it's been really fun. In some ways, it's been on the fridge. In some ways, it's like one more thing I have to follow through on. But in other ways, when the days that we remember to do it, I got a really nice back rub one day. My 13-year-old agreed to play Minecraft. Agreed to play Minecraft with my 9-year-old for 1 hour. What else has happened? Somebody did a couple extra chores. I mean, it's just been really lovely because it reminds the grown-ups to ask for what they need, and it reminds the kids to give as well. So
Allison, that is so beautiful. Like Heather, I think, is echoing what we're all thinking right now. She said, this is amazing. We're going to go on this website immediately. And I'm like, yeah, yep, that's what's happening.
If you would like my 13-year-old, if you'd like to commission some creativity, that is one way that she has helped immensely this week.
Yeah,
She loves being creative.
I love that. I was thinking like, yes, I can see that as like a PDF download, like a whole, concept behind it. That's really beautiful.
I'm glad it helped.
It's like, it just has my brain spinning in all kinds of good directions about, what my husband and I could talk through. And what I think is great about that in particular is that because there are the different love languages, my husband and I are very different sometimes about what we each need. And we, like anybody, you can kind of forget like how to best affirm or support or love your partner. And so I think it's really beautiful.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much, Allison, for all of those like incredible suggestions and tools and just words of wisdom and techniques that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to just fall asleep to like doing some of those like tonight. And I can't wait to teach my husband and even my son. I mean, my son's 5.5, but I feel like he would benefit from, especially like the hug or even the breathing. I'm sure he could use that technique to help just kind of calm him down, because we do a lot of like deep breathing together anyway. So I feel like this would be so great. Thank you. Are there any additional questions or any questions at all for Allison? You can either unmute or put them into the chat. We'll hang on for, a couple more minutes for any potential questions. I'll get it. Allison, any other parting words or final thoughts that you wanted to share with everybody?
There's one more thing, because I am a psychologist who's coming out of the closet as somebody who's also a spiritual healer. Before we hopped on the call, I did draw an oracle card for the collective. And this is one of my favorite. This is a new oracle card set. I'm sure those of you who know oracle cards know Colette Baron-Reid. This is the Goddess Power oracle set. So I was surprised at first. I shared this with Susan and Stacey right before we hopped onto Zoom. I was surprised at the card that I pulled, and I thought, oh, I must have made a mistake. I'm going to put it back at the deck. But then I read the book. So I know this is backwards, but this is Hera, who's a Greek goddess. And the word is alliance. And I'll read to you just a little bit of the description. I won't read the whole thing. So this is the Greek goddess Hera, the wife of Zeus. She knew intimately that positive alliances lead to great power. At this moment, and this is for all of you, this is for those of you who are live on the call and those of you who are listening to the YouTube later. This is for all of this collective that's come together for the creative pause. At this moment, you are magnetized to receive aid from people who have greater wisdom and can help you to the next level. Perhaps it's a mentor who appears or someone who's in the know. Making connections with others and finding strategic partnerships are favored right now as you explore the nature of becoming empowered by association. You may also be called to give help to another who needs your mentorship. Give freely, for only good will come of it. And ask, how can I serve the highest good as a result of this connection? This is a wonderful time for all manner of connection and collaboration. So that's for Stacey and Susan for sure, but it's for all of us.
Okay, that was amazing.
I have chills.
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you. I know Stacey and I have had a few times this week where we've like almost cried on the show. I feel like this is like, of course, like the final episode of the week. It would just be, I mean, if there were ever a time to be emotional on the show, I feel like it's, of course with you, Allison, and with that moment. I mean, that card, wow. I mean, just wow.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And it's a time where people are feeling very isolated and scared. it's a really existentially scary time. And I don't want to make light of that. It's scary for the people who are working in person on the front lines. It's scary for the people who are related to them. It's scary for people who've lost their livelihoods, like just gone. So it's an existentially very scary time. And so that's why I look to some of these techniques, including, psychology is fantastic. I've done it for 25 years. It's my life. But spirituality is really where I get sustenance now. And really, there's nothing more soothing than tapping into your source energy through meditation and just finding the space that it creates in your head, whether, if you do yoga or meditation, it creates space. And that's what we need right now. So yeah, that's really powerful.
Absolutely. I definitely will seek out other options that are definitely more spiritual during times like these, because that's where I feel more of a connection to things that are just beyond my control, or just like you said, creating space. It's exactly what I think we need right now, because we're just bombarded with thoughts and energy that isn't necessarily our own. And so making the space for your own thoughts or for no thoughts, it's really, truly a gift. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allison. This is where if I were at a retreat or anything else, I would just bow.
Yes.
I don't even have the words to thank you right now for this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm.
Okay. I'm like still just recovering from all the emotions that just came up to the surface, and as beautiful as they are, just trying to regroup and center. And I'm excited about just processing all of that later this evening. But thank you, Allison.
My honor.
Thank you. And we like to conclude each episode with a Mary Oliver quote, which is, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life?" So thank you again, Allison. Thank you, those of you that were watching live. You're watching on the replay. We are here every weekday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, and of course on YouTube as well. So thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Allison. And we will see you all soon.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.